The key responsibility of leadership, and I'm not talking about management now. Management is very important, differing from country to country, bureaucracy to bureaucracy, and so on. But leadership is simply being responsible for the quality of the culture. Everybody knows that. The one that is in power at home in the family sets the tone. The one in the factory, in the shop, in the office, the minister in his ministerium, and so on, they set the tone. They are responsible for the culture, for the quality of the interpersonal processes. And this is important because pedagogical relational competence, this is a definition that I made 15 years ago for the Danish Ministry of Education. What is relational competence? Well, the craft of it is the ability of the adult to see each child and to adjust his own behavior accordingly without giving up the leadership. This is a complicated skill, and I will have to use about 4 hours to talk about that, so I will go on. This definition also has an ethical part, which is the ability and will to take full responsibility for the quality of the interpersonal processes. Why that? This is not a moral thing. This doesn't have to do with anything like teachers are the adults or teachers get paid or whatever. This has to do with a very simple fact that even though children are competent, there are two extremely important competencies that they do not have. One of them is they are never able to be responsible or partly responsible for the quality of their relationship to adults. I'm not saying this because they are small and young and don't have experience. They simply cannot do it. If you want to see what happens when they have to do it, go into families where the parents are not taking this responsibility in one or the other way. And you will find that the children are doing very poorly. They are not developing the way they should. They're not learning how they should. So it is extremely important that adults are aware of this relationship or this responsibility. However, for 350 years, European adults have been living a double standard. We have been saying, when my relationship to children is a success, it is my success. When it is a failure, the child is guilty. This is our standard. It's been in families. It is getting out of families now, more and more, starting in the north and moving south. It is still in schools. It's basic. You know, you want to see our most impossible class? Every school has an impossible class. Let me tell you a secret. There is no such thing as an impossible class. It's not. There are only inadequate teachers or adults. The children are not guilty. The adults are responsible. And I'm not saying that any teacher should be able to do everything, but at least we could stop blaming the children, or if we are really post-modernistic, we blame the parents. That's easier. Let me give you another small example. There's an old tradition all over the Western world, which is that when a child and a teacher has a conflict and the teacher doesn't know what to do anymore, he will send the child up to you, to the office. Try to go back to your schools and tell your teachers, no more. If you have trouble with your relationship to your child, then you and this child comes up to me. And I will try to help both of you, finding a way of relating that is more constructive. That's basic social psychology. It's been a well-known fact for 60 years, but the schools have been ignoring it and say, no, 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 no. I'm standing behind my teachers, no matter how stupid they are. I'm backing them up in front of students, in front of parents, in front of everybody. It's getting more and more difficult to live with yourself that way. So the ethical standard for each school is extremely important. I have seen classes, I have seen individual children change behavior in 5 seconds because a teacher came in the room and said, listen children, I have known you now for 3 months and I am not satisfied with the way we are cooperating. Could you please tell me what I'm doing wrong? You should see children, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old. Their eyes are full of love. They are so careful. They are so diplomatic when they try to formulate what is it that you're not doing so well. You can get tons of valuable feedback, but you have to assume responsibility. Because children cannot. One more example. Many schools started in the 90s with a new practice in Denmark. So when there was this impossible class, they called the school psychologist. And then the school psychologist was very carefully interviewing all the children, all the parents, all the teachers. And then there was a meeting, without the children, I have to say, but there was a meeting between parents and teachers. Headmaster was often there. And then it turned out as a miracle that teachers and children agreed. There's too much noise in the classroom. People are not concentrated. We are not learning enough, and so on. So what did the teachers do? Teachers are intelligent people, but they have one big handicap. They believe in teaching, which is terrible, because teaching doesn't work. So they went back to the children and they said, aha, I can see that we agree. So now I made up a contract that you will all have to sign that this is going to change in the future. And the children are also intelligent, so they say, okay, fair enough, we will sign. And then 2 days later, we are back to the same old story. Why? Because children cannot take leadership. The adults have to take leadership. And giving the children the blame, making the children guilty, and making them promise to behave better tomorrow is not leadership. It has nothing to do with leadership. So there are many things that needs to be changed, especially in a time where we would like our children to have, if not the old values, then at least some values to guide their behavior.